Hi there, digital makers, and welcome to another week of Digital Making at Home from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. My name's Mark, and I'm coding from inside my own home here in the UK. The theme for this week is going to be Tell Us a Story. So what I thought I'd like to do is adapt one of the Raspberry Pi projects to make our own storybook. We're going to be using a language called HTML. And this is going to be a sort of slightly advanced project. So it's perfect for you if you've already done some HTML coding before and you're comfortable with some of the syntax. If you've never done HTML before, you might be better off checking out my buddy Christina's project this week. She's going to be doing some intermediate HTML for those of you that have never done it before. And she's going to be making like a comic strip story. If you prefer to work in Scratch, then check out my mate Mark's project. So he's going to be making an interactive story using the Scratch platform. Okay, so let's get on and do some HTML coding. What I'd like you to do to start off with is I'd like you to open up a web browser and we'll have a look at the project that we're going to be basing our work on. So if you open up your web browser, and what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go to rpf.io/DM magazine. So once this opens up, it's going to show us an example of the type of project we're going to do. Okay, so here is a web page that's been created. All right, and it's got a few little features in it, like it's got a title and background colors. There's a bit of animation in there. There's an image here. There's a link down here. So we're going to be making something similar to this, but we're going to be making our own story using it. Right then. So to start off with, we're going to use the platform called Trinket, and you'll need an account if you don't already have one. So go to trinket.io, and on this web page, you'll be able to either log into your account if you've already got an account, or you can sign up for a new account if you don't have one. Once you've got an account all set up, then you can go to our starter project. To reach the starter project, just go to rpf.io/DM magazine start. And this will open up a Trinket project for you, which already has a little bit of HTML written in here. Let's just make that a little bit bigger for you so you can see my screen. There we go. Brilliant. So what is HTML? So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, back when people used to do all their writing on paper, and people would write whole books using ink and a pen, when they wanted it published and printed, they would send it off to their editor, and the editor of their book would then mark up all their text. So they might say, oh, we need a page break in here, or this would be a good place to put this illustration. It wasn't stuff, what they were writing, this markup that they were writing, often in a different coloured pen, wasn't designed to be printed, so the reader would never see it. It was just instructions on how to lay out the text. Well, HTML does the same thing, but for a web browser. It gives it instructions on how to lay out text and images and what colours and what fonts to use. It relies on something called tags. So here's a HTML tag right here. So a tag is always surrounded by what are called angle brackets. You might recognise them as greater than or less than signs from when you study maths, but when we're coding in HTML, we call these angle brackets. So we've got an opening HTML tag here, and that's basically telling my web browser that everything I'm writing after that tag is going to be HTML code. Down at the bottom, I've got this closing tag. So it's exactly the same, except it's got a little forward slash in front of the HTML. And that's saying, oh, I'm not writing HTML anymore. We've got a couple of other tags here. So we've got this head tag and its corresponding close. The head is where I can put extra information for the web browser, and I can link to other files and that kind of thing. So here I've told my web browser that there's this thing called a style sheet. Okay, and that style sheet lives at style.css. And some of you might have noticed that there's another empty text file over here called style.css. So that's where that is linking to. After that, I've got my body tag. Now the body tag is where I write all my text and I put all my images and everything that I want the person to see who's looking at my web page. So let's go ahead and put in our first bit of text. I'm going to put it in a paragraph tag. So I'm going to tell the web browser that this is a new paragraph by going P. And what Trinket will do is it automatically close that tag for me. Okay, so it's automatically closed that tag for me. And I can write some text here. So let's go, hello, digital makers. And over on the right-hand side here, you'll see that that text now appears. Brilliant. So what story are we going to tell today? Well, I'd really like it if you made up your own original stories. Okay, and you can be as creative and as wonderfully imaginative as you can possibly be, but I've only got about half an hour to take you through this, so I'm going to use somebody else's story. And the story I'm going to use is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And I'll talk more about why I've chosen that book in a minute. So I'm now going to do Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. If you want to follow along with me, that's absolutely fine. You can do that. Or you could keep pausing the video at certain times and then writing your own text and finding your own images and doing things your own way. Let's start off by putting in the title of my book. I'm going to use an H1 tag. That stands for heading 1. So that's the largest style of heading in HTML. So inside that H1 tag, I'm going to put the title of my book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Perfect. Okay, and you can see that appears over here. That's nice and large now. But I want to make some alterations to that. So I don't want to have my text looking like that on my screen. So I want to make some changes to it. So what changes can I make to my H1 tag? Well, I could change things like the font, or I could change the color. I can change various things about it. How do we do that? So remember, it's in that H1 tag. I'm going to come over to my style.css. And I'm going to tell my web browser that I want to change what the H1 tag looks like. So I put in H1. Don't need the angle brackets this time, but what I do need is I need a pair of curly braces. So there we go, and Trinket's automatically put in the closing brace for me. So that's the curly braces there. So what should I change about it? Well, let's start off by changing where this is aligned. Everything in HTML always tends to get aligned to the top left, and I'm going to change where that is. I'm also going to correct my spelling of adventures there. I've only just noticed that. Adventures. There we go. So everything normally in HTML is aligned to the top left, and I'm going to change where that alignment is for that text. So let's go ahead and do that now. We can go text -align. I put in a colon. Okay, and then it'll automatically add a semicolon in for me, and I'm just going to say center. Okay, that semicolon's really important there. That's telling the web browser that I've come to the end of that text align command. I'm not going to give it any more information about how the text is aligned. So that semicolon at the end of every CSS line is really important. But Trinket helps us out with this by putting it in for us. Let's change the color of the text. So I'm going to go for, I'm going to spell it correctly, color, and I'm going to go white. All right, so we should see, there we go, it's changed, but I've got a problem now because I can't really see it very clearly. It's definitely there. The text is still there on my page, but because the color of the text is very similar to the color of the background, it's not showing up. So I better change the background color. Background, colon, and I'll go for a teal color. Okay, and there we go, that's a bit better. There's another little problem that I've got though. I don't quite like the look of this yet because I think that border of that teal is a little bit close to the actual contents, to that text there. Okay, so I want to expand out this box a little bit, if you like. And I use the word box because in an HTML, everything's really done in boxes. This H1 tag is inside like its own box. And boxes have properties. I'm just going to show you an image of what's called the box model in HTML. So this is the way HTML works. We have our content in the center. That's the actual text or an actual picture. And around that, between the content and between the edge of the box, okay, we have this thing called padding. All right. Then we have a border, and we can set the border properties. So we can have a border color, and we can choose the thickness of our border. And then outside of that, we have a margin. So if you imagine I've got a margin of 20 pixels, it would keep this box 20 pixels away from any other box or from the edge of the browser window. So I want to change this padding. Okay, I'm going to change the padding to give a little bit more space between the content and the edge of the box. So back over onto my page, and here I'm just going to type now, let's go for padding. Nope. That's my cursor. There we go. Padding. And I'm going to add in 5 pixels of padding. And you should see that that expands out. Let's just make that a huge amount just so you can really see what the difference is. Let's go to 100 pixels of padding. Can you see that I've got 100 pixels of space now between my content and the edge of my box, always at least 100 pixels. That's a little bit too much though, so we'll just go back to having 5 pixels. Okay, so that's great. We've got our heading. It's all nice and clearly visible now. What other changes shall we make to this? Well, I'm going to add in, because this is going to be the beginning of the book. I'm going to want to have an image in here, so I'm going to want to have the book cover, and I'm also going to add in sort of like a table of contents so that people can go to different pages in my book. So I'm going to go back to my index.html now. Okay, so underneath my heading, I'm going to place an ordered list. Okay, so we've got 2 types of lists. There's ordered lists and there's unordered lists. The way we normally think about that is an unordered list is like bullet points, and an ordered list is where you get 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C. Okay, so the tag for an ordered list is OL, and I just hit enter there. It's automatically closed it for me. So that's a box containing my entire ordered list, and I've got to put in each of the individual list elements. So I can go li, and I'll just say, don't need to space there, page 1, and there you go, you can see it appears, so it's got that number 1 and page 1. I don't have to worry about the numbers myself, it's going to do that all automatically for me. Page 2, and let's just get in a 3rd page there. Page 3. Okay, so that's telling my reader how many pages that there are in this book. Okay, and we could keep on doing that depending on how many pages you're going to have in your book. Right, what else do I want? I'm going to get an image in here. Okay, now there's several different ways of getting images into our HTML document. So let's just put the image down here. So we use an image tag normally. So it would look like this, img. All right, and then what we need to do is we need to say where that image is. src, so that stands for source. So where is this image? Okay, well, we have some images already loaded up for you to play around with if you want. So I can click over here and view and add images, and I've got things like dogrobot.png and firerobot.png, and you could add your own images into your project. Okay, you'll need to remix it first. So you'll need to remix it to make it your own. Okay, but then you can add in all your own images in here. All right then. So let's just see what dogrobot.png looks like. So I can come back over to my index.html and say the source is dogrobot.png. And then I just close that. And unlike other tags in HTML, I don't need to put in a closing image tag like this. Okay, I don't need to worry about that. All right, so I've just got my image and then source equals dogrobot.png, and my dog's appeared. Not really fitting with Alice in Wonderland though, the Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I want to go get an illustration that's more fitting to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. But I want to be careful when I'm doing this, all right? Because if I'm going to share this project with other people, I want to make sure I've got permission to use any images that I'm going to put into my web page. So I've got to make sure I've got permission to use them. There's a few ways of doing that. So I could search for images using the Google search and make sure that I can reuse those images, and then I could download them and upload them here. But the nice thing about HTML is I can live link to images that are on another web page. Okay, so I'm going to go and look at Wikimedia Commons, and I'm going to look for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Okay, let's see what this brings up. So category Alice in Wonderland, Wikimedia Commons, Alice in Adventureland. Here's the one I want. Okay, so you could click the first one and there will be some images there, but I'm going to come down to this one, John Tenniel's illustrations on Wikimedia Commons, because he was the original illustrator for the book. So I'm going to click and open this link up here. Okay, and then I've got all his lovely illustrations that he did for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland here, and I'm just looking for a book cover at the moment. Okay, so I just want the book cover, and if I scroll down far enough, there, we've got it there. Okay, so on Wikimedia Commons, all the images that you'll find there are what's called in the public domain, so they're not in copyright anymore, and you're allowed to use them as long as you often have to credit the author and say where you got them from. Okay, that can be a little complicated, but Wikimedia Commons does all the hard work for you. If I click this link here, okay, I've got another link up here for use this file. So this is the image I'm going to use. Okay. And I've got the use this file link. So I can click that and it says, do I want to embed this? Okay. Well, yes, I do. Okay. So I'm now just going to copy all that text there. And you'll be able to see that there is actually an image tag in here. Okay. So where is it? There we go. IMG. Yeah. Width 256. So I'm going to copy that there. And I'm going to come over to my trinket again, and I'm going to paste it in there. Okay. Now that automatically puts the image in for us. Okay. Here's the image tag part. Let's just scroll forward a little bit. There's my image tag part. And this part before it is just saying what the file is and where it came from. Okay. All right. And there you can see that word there. It's in the public domain. So we're allowed to use that without any problems. Okay then. So I've got my image and I've got my contents, but I don't like the position of them very much at the moment. I don't like where they're positioned. Okay. So if you remember me talking about those boxes, that box model, I can create my own invisible box, okay, in HTML. And the way I do that is using what's called a div tag. So I'm going to put that ordered list inside a div tag. I'm going to leave my title outside of it, but that ordered list is going to go inside its own div. Okay. So what I can do is I can go div. Okay, and then it automatically closes that div, but I don't want to close it there. I'm going to come down and I'm going to close it after my ordered list. Okay, and then I'll put in another div here, div. And again, I don't want to close that before the image. I want to close that after the image. So I'm going to close the div there. Now I can go and style those divs. I can style them with the CSS by doing like div, yeah? But I want to style those two divs in different ways. So I've got to give the web browser a way of being able to tell those divs apart. At the moment, they're both just a div tag. Okay. What I can do is I can give them a class. I can say that the class for that first div is going to be called column1. And that class for that second div there, I'm going to call that class equals column2. Oh, need it in quotes. So there we go. I've given it a class. So both divs got a different class. Now over in my style sheet, I can say how I'd like those classes to appear. So in order to specify that I'm talking about a class and not a tag, I have to use a full stop and then type column1. Okay. Then same as before, I can open up my curly brace, hit enter there, and then I can say how I want this styled. So I'm going to give that first box, I'm going to say its width is about half the width of the web page, just under half the width of the web page. So I'm going to give it a width, okay, colon, and I'm going to say 48%, all right. And then I'm going to tell it where to position itself. So I'm going to want it to float, and I'm going to want column1 to float left, okay. And then I'm going to do the same with column2. I'm going to give it a width of 48%. And I'm going to tell this one to float right. Float right. And that's better. Now I've got my text on the left, okay, and I've got my image on the right. Right, what else can we do to this web page? Well, let's make the background a little bit more interesting, shall we? Okay. So let's style everything that's inside the body. So that'll be the title, that'll be this content here, and it's going to be that image and the background, everything that's in the body. Okay, so I'm going to come over up here, and because my body tag came first, it doesn't really matter, but just to keep things neat, I'm going to put my CSS for my body here. So what should we change first? Let's change the background. And colon, and I can give it a color, so I could go blue. There we go. I can go pink. I can choose any color I want really for that. All right, but I can also do something quite clever. I can also choose a gradient, linear gradient, and I'm going to start to bottom. So it's going to go from top to bottom. Right. Okay, then I have to put in my colours. So I'll choose really bold colours to start off with so you're going to see the effect. but it'll look horrible. So if I go blue, red, can you see that it's starting off at the top left-hand corner? It's blue, and then as it moves down to the bottom right, it's changing to the colour red. Okay, but that is particularly ugly. So let's go for lemon chiffon, which is a little bit more subtle, to white. And there we go. So we'll start off with lemon chiffon and then gently go down to white, which I think is quite nice. It looks a little bit like sort of faded parchment colour. Okay, what else can we change about our body? Well, I can give the body padding in the same way I gave the title padding, just to make sure that the edges of the body text and all that kind of stuff stays a little bit away from the edge of the screen. So I'm going to give it some padding of 15 pixels. Okay, can you notice how everything moved away from the edge of the screen? Let me just up that to make it a bit more obvious. So, oh, that's way too much, but can you see now I've got 150 pixel space between the edge of the screen and where the body of my HTML sits. Let's go back to 15 pixels there. Now I can also give it a font family, so I can say what font family I want to use. Font family, okay. And you've probably got lots of different fonts installed on your computer. I want to use a cursive font here, okay. So that's what I want, but I don't have any cursive fonts really installed on my computer, so I can't just type that. I've got very, very few fonts installed on my computer. I've got some monospace fonts, I think, okay, which turns it to look like sort of a computer code font. But I want something like sort of quite Victorian, quite old-fashioned, sort of cursive thing. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go and find some fonts online. I'm not going to download them to my computer. I'm just going to link them in the style sheet. So let's open up a new tab and go to fonts.google.com, because Google hosts a huge number of fonts that we're able to use on our web page. I'm going to choose a category here of handwriting. So I'm going to get rid of all the others and just have the handwriting fonts. And then I'm just going to scroll down here and see if I can find one that I like the look of. You can use anything that you like the look of. I'm going to go for a quick scroll down. I want something that looks cursive, but at the same time, I can read quite easily. I'm going to go for this one here. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to go for. So I just click on that font. It's called Nikon. I click on that font. I'm then going to come over to this button here where it says select this style. I select that. And then it's going to ask me what I want to do, and I want to embed it into my web page. And that's going to bring up these two sets of code here. Okay, so I'm going to copy that link href style sheet code, copy that, Control C, come back over to my Trinket, and in my index.html, I'm going to link that font in. Okay, so now that font, like Google API's font, is sitting there inside the head. Just what I also linked to my style sheet there, I've linked to that the Google font there. I can then come over to the font again, and I can take that font family, and I want that text there. Copy that. And that can go into my CSS style sheet just there. Okay, and let's see how that changes. Wonderful. All right, I'm going to make that text a little bit bigger now, okay, because my font size now it's shrunk down a little bit on my title. So over on this H1, okay, because I want to style it for that title, I can choose my font size. So let's go for font size, and let's try a few different numbers. So 30 pixels. Nope, that's made it smaller. Let's go for 80 pixels. That's made it too big. So let's go for 50. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. I'm also going to change the size here of my page 1, page 2, and page 3. And I can do that just in this body part over here. Okay. So this will be applied to everything in the body. So I can go font size, and let's go for 20 pixels. See what that looks like. Let's go up a little bit, 30. I'm going to go for 25. Okay. So that changes the font size for all the body text. You'll notice it hasn't affected this. It hasn't affected my title because I set the body first here, 25 pixels, okay, which includes everything that's in the body, remember, including the head, all right? But then because down here, I've set font size of 50, this number then overrides that first number just for that heading. Good. Right, what do we do next? Let's add in our first page, okay? So to get our first page, I'm going to come over to this plus button here. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to call it page 1.html. Okay. There's nothing in page 1.html at the moment, so let's just cheat a little bit, and we'll take everything from here. I'm going to copy all of that, and I'm going to place it in my first page, and then I'm just going to remove that ordered list, and I'm going to remove that ordered list there. Okay. Not ordered list, that image there. Right, so let's get some text to go into our column 1 now. So let's get some text from Alice in Wonderland. Now again, just like the images for Alice in Wonderland, the text for Alice in Wonderland is in the public domain. Okay, it's out of copyright now. So I'm allowed to take that text and I can use it on my web page. So I'm going to go to www.gutenberg.org. One T. Let's have a look. Yes, 1T. There we go. That's better. So I've gone to Project Gutenberg. Okay, and in here I can just search for the book. There's like 60,000 free books on this website that you can go and have a look at. All of them in the public domain, and all of them able to use. So some really old classic books in here. So I want Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I'm just going to search for that. There it is, Lewis Carroll. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Click it. There's lots of different formats, but the format I want is just plain text. So I'm going to have a look at the plain text for it. Here we go. So we've got a bit of an opening bit, and then we've got some descriptions of illustrations. We've got our contents, and then here we've got our chapter 1. All right. So I want those paragraphs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy them paragraph at a time. So I'll take that paragraph first, and then inside a paragraph tag, I can put my first paragraph. I can then make a second paragraph tag, and then I can go get my second paragraph. Now, as I said, I'm copying and pasting this, but if you've got the time, it would be really lovely if you were to write your own imaginative, creative story about whatever it is you like. But I've only got half an hour to take you through this project, so I'm just going to cheat and take Lewis Carroll's lovely words instead. There we go. So that's my first page there, and now I just want an image to go with it. So let's go back over to our Alice Adventures in Wonderland. Let's find another picture to use. I'm going to look for a picture of the rabbit, because in that first chapter Alice is sitting by the riverbank with her sister, and then she notices the rabbit running off, complaining it's late, and there's a picture of the rabbit, and then she follows it down the rabbit hole. So I'm going to take this picture of the rabbit looking at his watch. I'm just going to go to that more details button again. I'm going to use that, use this file on the web, and then I'm going to copy all that embed code there and just paste it in. I want that in column 2. I lost my closing div for column 2, haven't I? Yeah, it looks like I've deleted too much. Let's close that div, and then let's close the body. I don't think I've got that in there either. Okay, but there we go. We've got my image in there now, okay, and I've got my beginning text. So what am I missing from this? Okay then, so let's go back to my page 1, okay, and what we're going to do now is we're going to create some links very quickly because I'm running out of time. So back over to this index.html, and I want this page 1 here, okay, I want that to be a hyperlink that my reader can use to take them to that first page I've just created. So in order to get a link in, I use what's called an anchor tag, okay, so I'm going to say anchor, A, okay, and then I'm going to give it what's called the href, so href equals, and then I have to tell it what the page is called, so in quotes, I'm going to type page 1.html, close my quotes, and then I don't want the anchor tag to be closed there. Trinket's automatically closed there. Okay, so that hasn't really helped me out very much. I don't have a link yet. I need it to close after that page 1 text. So I'm just going to cut, Control X to cut. And just after that text, that's where I'm going to close the anchor tag. Okay, and so now I've got that page 1 link. It's turned blue. So I can click that link and it'll take me here. And then I'll just want to put in, a quick back button so the user can go back to that opening page. So on my page 1.html, I'll just put it inside column 1 here. So I'll go A, href equals, and then index.html. And then I'm going to go back. Okay, and then if I scroll down to the bottom here, I should see my back button. There we go. Right, so that is our completed project. There's lots of other things you can do with HTML, all right? And if you go back to that magazine project and have a look at that, you'll be able to see how to do things like rotate images, okay? Add in extra titles, add in little animations, okay? So you can use these steps down here and then you can play around with your book and make it even better, all right? So have fun creating that project, guys, and I hope to see all the work you've done. You can share it with me on rpf.io/home, okay? rpf.io/home. You can share your projects, use the share button to get the URL for your project and share it with us there. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now for today. So thank you very much for paying attention and thank you very much for following along with me. And I will see you all again soon for another week of digital making at home. Bye-bye, everyone.